Well, we wanted to start out with some really deep gratitude to all of you, our loyal listeners. We finished our first season, and we're really excited to preview what's coming up next with you. We wanted to begin by highlighting some of the incredible moments that we spent with our first 20 guests. In each episode, we asked questions that elicited a wide variety of compelling and really some profound conversations.
Wait a second. I'm so sorry. Uh, oh, you're not reading the script, are you?
Yeah.
Oh, you are? Many more recorded for. Did you say that we have many more recorded for next season?
Oh, that's the other script. That was the script that we wrote for
Oh,
before. Skip down to the draft script for a new season.
for new season teaser.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was at the wrong script. I was like,
Okay, I'm just riffing.
that's okay.
So do you want to start over, or did you
No,
want to
do you
start
want to
from your
just
part?
do you want
Yeah,
to
go
just
ahead
cut
and
in?
start with
Okay,
yeah, start where your part is it.
okay. We've always started out with how does death impact the story with all of our guests. And we heard so many different types of experiences, but there was a running element that was similar to a lot of these responses. So we heard about deaths with childhood pets, close family members like grandparents and uncles who had passed away. And sometimes all these experiences happened with little or no acknowledgement. So, Wakil, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's really true that that came up over and over again. How many times people had, especially when we asked them kind of what was their first experience. It was quite often the case, especially with young people when they were young, that people didn't acknowledge that as children they were noticing and they were
Yeah.
being affected by the deaths, and they were being um, left out really of the
Mm-hmm.
conversation, and that wasn't healthy, right? In almost every case, people said they wish they had been allowed to be a part of it and had been able to be a part of it early on, which is
That's
something our culture does, right?
I know, and it's strange to me too that we have this kind of stratification of who's sentient, who's alive, who's deserving. So family members should be deserving of this attention and acknowledgement, but yet a lot of people wound up having these conversations around dead pets.
Right.
So that was kind of interesting to me. Um, and I don't understand where this fear comes from at that point. Like, why not let the kids know about their grandmother who has passed away and let's like cry together, or I don't know. It's
Yeah.
very interesting to me.
Yeah. And even like, in our culture before the industrial system of funerals, and before we had this kind of fear around it, grandma would be in the parlor, and we'd all go in and sit with grandma and acknowledge her. And that's still the case in some places, in some
Hmm.
cultures.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's exactly when the conversations would take place, right? So oftentimes a family member's whisked away to a hospital scenario, and the child has never seen that person ever again, like gone,
exactly.
right? And then nobody wants to come in and discuss this, and there's a lot of questions and unknowns and fears that become established at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was really interesting just to see that kind of over and over we heard the same thing.
Yeah. There was a real thread running through all of those responses that just emphasized that what we need to do better in our culture and why we're
Mhm.
doing this podcast, really,
Mhm.
so that people can have
Yeah,
these conversations with each other, with their families, and uh, and not leave anyone out. So,
that's right. So, what are the things that we notice?
well, we also asked a question about challenges, and we asked many different. I mean, almost everybody we asked them what were their biggest challenges. And it kind of comes back to what we were just talking about, that cultural disconnect with
Mhm.
death that we observe,
Mhm.
especially in the United States, and the inability to talk about it.
Mhm.
Um, and there were other challenges. Do you remember some other ones that were? I mean, that one came up a lot, and really speaks to why we're doing a podcast. But
Yeah, I guess communicating was the major theme with that. In terms of like, let's talk about advanced care directive planning. Very difficult. Let's talk about the death of a loved one. very difficult. Let's talk about services and funerals, and what values do we hold around end of life, and how do we offer that as a gift to the person who's transitioning. All of these were
Yeah,
challenges. Like, it seemed like straight across the board, nobody wants to talk about this at all.
that's right. Yeah. I just did a class, my class that I called Before You Go. I just had one this last weekend, and somebody in the class brought up the fact that they have a son who's an emergency medical tech, EMT, but he refuses to talk to her about her death. And I've heard this before from
Wow.
young people that, and I guess, who knows what's going on with him. Maybe he sees enough of it or doesn't want to think about his mom dying. Um, with young people especially, it's come up that we just, that's morbid. We're living our lives. We don't want to talk about death.
Mhm.
I know my first conversations with my family was kind of like, yeah, we're really not ready to do this. And they've gotten
Mhm.
much better, and we have regular conversations now. But
Yeah.
it is a
I wonder if there's, like, a time zone where young people don't wanna talk about it, right? Like, I feel like children, maybe up until their late teens, are curious
mm.
about this, like like, it wants to be, like, a little bit morbid, like, "Ooh, like, death," and then all of a sudden, the reality, like, adulthood sets into these kids, and they're seeing for the first time, like, the finiteness of everything. And I
Sure.
wonder if, like, 18 to 30 somethings are like, "Oh, this is really uncomfortable conversation. I don't wanna lose my parents," or, "I just got married and I can't imagine losing my spouse." And then it
Mm.
gets to, like, us, old fogey kind of folks who are like, "I see the end in sight," like, it's
Right.
it's it's coming right at us. So, it's so present in our day to day that the conversations are kind of welcome for people our age, right? So I wonder if
Mhm.
there's, like, a different kind of threshold at each like time passage for people.
That would be
Uh,
interesting to find out more about that. I wonder that too. I also wonder how social media and the kind of the presentation that one has to always give on social media of being happy and everything's wonderful, and I just had the best meal on earth, and you just don't. Generally, it's not something that you would post on your social media about, how sad I am or how much I'm worried or how. It's just not something that comes up, and there is sort of that sense that everything's lovely all the time.
mhm.
And so I wonder if that has any effect. I mean, there's probably a lot of cultural pressures for us, especially. I was thinking about young people though, and especially how it's been impactful to their lives more than ours. Ours, we weren't quite as buried in it as they are,
Right,
and since it is such an impact, I wonder how that it might what differences that might make as well.
right. And just as you're saying that, I was thinking about the immense amount of horror death images that are input into our daily lives through social media and the news, right? So,
Sure.
death is harrowing right now. We've got, like, animals who are dying because of climate catastrophe. We have children who are dying in war zones.
Right.
So I wonder if there's, like, this, not necessarily a jadedness, but a fatigue, because
Yeah.
to talk about it, yeah, it's saturated.
Saturation. Yeah.
Yep. To talk about death means to, like, allow those images to enter into our minds again.
Yeah. Those feelings. Yeah.
Mhm. So that would
Sure.
be very interesting. Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll take that up in one of our upcoming podcasts. We'll have to talk to a psychotherapist or something, or a philosopher.
Oops.
Or something.
I love that. Hopefully somebody listening will write in and say, "Yes, like, that could be
Yeah,
me."
yeah, that would be good. Somebody
So,
who's studying this stuff.
yeah. So one of the next part of this is, just as we're finishing talking about the saturation of death in our culture, and it not being made to be a safe conversation, but maybe a little more taxing, we did ask folks how they were resourcing themselves, which means, how do they um, look through all the information that they're gathering about death and dying, whether it be with patients, with their clients, for whomever, or their family members. And then, how do they step away from that for a moment and take care of themselves? And by and large, I'd like to say it's almost 100%, but
Yeah.
everybody touches base with nature as a way to resource themselves, and
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Totally makes sense to me, right?
It does, and, I think I was thinking about that in terms of, we don't think about death, but death is constantly clearing its throat around us. The seasons
That's right.
demonstrate, right? Like, the seasons
Yeah.
demonstrate the life cycle. Death is happening. Flowers bloom and they die, critters live and die, and
Yeah.
yet, you know, people said, "Oh, I just go out and stare into the mountains or the flowers or the trees," and they are probably talking to us and reminding us that it's gonna be okay. We're
Oh, yeah.
here and it's
Absolutely.
okay. So, yes, so nature. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I think with the sense that I got from people, and I think you and I have talked about this, is when you're in nature on a regular basis and you're making that a part of your practice, your life, it becomes a part of your cells, part of your body. You feel that sense of life and death all around you all the time, and that
Mhm.
sense of connectedness, and that which is such a great assist to grace. Basically, the main thing that helps in grief and loss is to have that connectedness and to know that
Right.
you're not alone.
Yep.
So that nature, being in nature, just gives you that sense and that feeling. It becomes a part of you. Really does feel like part of your cells.
Right.
Um,
So,
yeah,
yeah, and that connectedness is also part of that answer that people said, when I really need help, I do go into community.
yeah,
And, our nature is our community
sure,
and it demonstrates community, right? A little stand of aspen, a little school of fish, all of these are working together with one another to keep each other alive, essentially. So,
yeah,
nature as a form of resourcing, but also as an example of how to be soft into the arms of a lot of loved ones around you.
exactly, yeah. Yeah, and as an example, it helps us remember to connect to our own human community and our more than human community, our animals,
That's
and
right.
they also. I remember people also spoke of their spiritual practices, their mindfulness and presence. We had a really good interview just recently, one that'll come up next season with a mindfulness teacher, and just reminding us that stepping back and breathing and finding your center and your connection to the earth and to the ground and to your community was is another one of the ways of dealing with these challenges or dealing with the issues that come up when you're talking
Right.
about end of life. So
Right. Well, and also we had some of our guests talk about they were not religious, but they were spiritual. And
right,
so spiritual practices ran the gamut for folks.
absolutely,
Like,
yeah,
there were some folks who really wanted to be in communities of like minded spiritual traditions. And there were others who just had their own practice in being in spiritual community of different sorts. So,
yeah, of
yeah,
the trees,
the
of the
trees, I
trees,
know that
yeah,
did. Yeah,
yeah.
that was a big one.
Yeah, or science. I mean, we have a scientist at one time, and there are scientists who I've talked to who find their divinity in the beauty of science and in the miraculous things that can be found in the way the scientific method works. And um, so I think that even there's no. We talked several times about the difference between sacredness and spirituality, sacredness and religion, or spirituality and religion, and that sense that there's many ways to
Hmm.
notice and connect to whatever you might call divine or what you might call sacred, and that end of life work is sacred work.
That's right.
There's just no way around it.
Nope.
Yeah.
Oh, so beautiful.
We also often asked, or many times asked people about what frightened them about the end of life. We've heard many responses, many of which were
Resonated with
very,
us.
yeah, yeah, very emotionally. And, um, I think a couple of them, one was not finishing our stories, not finishing our purpose in life,
Mhm.
and projects, not cleaning up our messes, right? Not having gotten the forgiveness maybe that we hoped we'd gotten, or of course, leaving our children behind before they're ready, or our children leaving us behind before we're ready. Of course, those
Mhm.
things, all of those, and the other one that came up a lot was that we people have their wishes that they've hopefully shared, and that those wishes didn't get honored, because someone was in charge. They didn't have the agency that they hoped they would have because
That's
they were
right.
no longer there to deal with it. And of course, most people replied that they didn't want to be in pain.
Mhm.
So all of those were things that people are afraid of. But I think we related to, like you said, we resonated with most of those.
Yes, and, again, if that's a fear, it's high time to just acknowledge this fear and make steps to take care of it, right? So, all those folks who are worried about agency and pain, an advanced care directive plan might be really a reasonable document to have to help out. Uh, for those who needed to clean out their closets or their messes,
Hmm.
again, like, time is finite. And what frightens us most probably needs a little bit of a plan.
Yeah, it's always a good lesson. That's kind of what we came back to with every one of those. Is those things are the things you need to pay attention to.
Hmm.
um,
Yeah,
and they don't necessarily go away because you pay attention to them, but at
right,
least you can keep working on them.
right.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I just sense in my own personal life, I have a lot of lists. I have a lot of things to do these days. Raising two kids, having a passel of four-legged children, trying to be a good eco chaplain and take care of bees. All of these aspects of living keep me fully engaged, and yet I value the death and dying um, contemplation, right?
Hmm.
And so I think it behooves us to continue to share with people, like take a moment and stop and like find out what is your mission, what are your values, and remind yourself that life is finite.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
tomorrow is not guaranteed, and if that mess is really going to get cleaned up, we need to tackle a little bit of it today.
Yeah.
And if you cherish so much your family members that you don't want to have them gone, maybe just talk to them about how much you love them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's a good start right there.
Yeah. I remember one of our guests speaking to the fact that, kind of going back to the idea of a conversation that fits with that, having a conversation with your loved ones, but also with this, one step at a time. You know,
Yeah.
just take small baby steps. In a conversation with somebody, you might just say, I'm just wondering, what are you thinking about when you die?
Mhm.
What do you want to have
Mhm.
happen to your body? You can just take baby steps, or what do you think of this art in here? Do you want any of it? you know,
Yeah. Or
so
my kids are like, "Can we have your toys?"
right, yeah,
Ah.
or like I think one of the other things we talk about in the class was having a yearly, or maybe not every year, but a regular gathering of your beloveds, and just saying, "Here's what I'm thinking about." Sort of
Mhm.
like here's what I want to have happen, and here I'd like you to be my health agent. Are you comfortable with that?
Mhm.
And making sure everybody's on the same page. It's just like have a glass of wine, and sit around and have a conversation, just like a birthday party, only instead just talk about death. But
Yeah.
again, it's those small steps, and making the time to do them, that makes a huge difference, I think. So.
Does. It just occurred to me that this last year when I did a solstice ceremony at winter, I did ask folks to bring up the grief that they were holding for the year. And I wonder if we don't want to do it on birthdays, we don't want to do it on special occasions, but if we could find a way to mark time yearly
Yeah.
to have those conversations. It doesn't, you could make it up. It could be, you know, I don't know, Bastille Day, you know, July 14th.
Yeah.
And just exactly like invite some of your loved ones over and say, this is what's been on my heart and mind. And I just want to share with you. and
Yeah.
also make sure that they're resourced and ready to have that conversation, right?
Yeah.
Invite them,
Yeah.
and just be brave. And
Yeah.
speaking of bravery, though, I will say that in all the conversations that we heard and had with folks, I came away really believing that people are so brave.
Right.
People step into very difficult situations, not knowing what to do, not knowing what to expect, not understanding fully the sacred journey that they have just been called into. It's kind of like, what is it, Bilbo Baggins
Mhm.
or the hobbits, right? Like they've been called in to do this major journey, and people show up with courage and
Every
bravery
time.
every
Yeah.
time. Uh, and part of that to me too was that for those who are doing the heavy lifting of considering their death, they are preparing for death as a practice, as a spiritual practice, as a community practice. They're reading books, they're taking notes, they're listening to us, they're having conversations. We always talk about how hard it is in our culture, but we also should acknowledge that there are people who are doing this good work.
Yeah.
And
We got to meet a lot of them.
yeah, we're not alone, right? And we're
Yeah.
all out there. So, you know, look around. There's got to be some folks out there with right alongside you. And, alongside that, a community is very important,
Yeah.
and community grieving is
That's very
essential.
important. Yeah.
It is. It's a way that people can both be held and find a safe place to travail and go through this dark time that they're feeling.
Yeah. 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 I think um, we really heard that a lot, that people, like we talked about earlier, really rely on their community, but then creating that space, and like you were talking about the gathering that we might set time for, that's a time where we could have ritual, we could create ritual. Ritual was another important thing that came up. We could create ritual in these communities to talk about grieving, but in a way that was safe and considerate and well resourced. I just have to say that I've been in grief workshops that weren't very safe and that weren't very well resourced, and I think you can really do it badly if you
Hmm.
don't create a space that has people who know what they're doing, that has good facilitators, that has good support people.
Right.
Just having people come and scream can really be counterproductive in my
Right.
experience. So
Right.
so having that sense of of having somebody who knows about ritual, somebody who knows about facilitation and can be a part of your grieving process, and that it takes as long as it takes. We heard that many times. So
Hmm.
people grieve for the rest of their lives
Hmm.
many times, and that's the way it is. It's fine. It doesn't. There's no timeline on this,
There is
right?
no timeline. No.
Yeah,
And every loss is unique too. Like no two
absolutely.
stories are going to be similar in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, that's really true. That comes up a lot too.
Hmm.
And that kind of leads us to remembering to express ourselves, express our love. Make sure we tell people that our beloveds that we love them. Make sure we forgive them if we need to forgive them. Make sure we forgive ourselves. But that need to really be present and remember that, as you said a minute ago, we don't know, if we're going to be here tomorrow. Tomorrow, maybe this
Hmm.
might be our last breath, and so
Hmm.
living with that awareness and living that way is really about just constantly being um, in love and constantly letting people know that I love you.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And actually, I was just thinking the practice of love, of daily reminders for our loved ones, it can really help at the end of life because
yeah,
that love will just kind of bloom and, envelop everybody who's going through something that's really difficult in the moment. That love bloom may actually be what makes people courageous in those moments and step into
absolutely.
really tough times.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We heard many people say that being with the dying is a sacred thing, a sacred act. We also talked about the difference a minute ago between the word sacred and spiritual and religion. They definitely can be the same, but in many cases, it's just a sense of that connectedness, and that it
Mhm.
really is a kind of a spiritual practice to be with people at the end of their lives. Um,
Yeah.
what else did we learn from people?
Well, everybody wants agency. That meaning everybody wants to have a word in their end in the last minutes before they pass, and it's it's not always easy to find the right people
Right.
to have that to be your champion at the end of life, right? Uh,
Hmm.
I like that a few folks, not everybody, but said, we kind of don't want to pick the person who's older than us because they might not be around.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is again why you try and do this on a regular basis and check in. Somebody who you picked last time around might not either might not be here or might be leaving or might be not ready to do it anymore, may have changed
Yeah,
their mind, may have had
yeah,
different things happened in their lives, and
that's
they're
right.
just not prepared to do that anymore. So being aware of that, and as we talk about agency and about communication, all those important things to be prepared,
Hmm. Hmm.
it's just a constant. It's not just something you do it and you put it up on the shelf and forget about it. Something that's really has to become a part of your life and your living in the way because it is death is part of life. So I want
Hmm.
to completely keep that connection.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So
Yeah, and with all of it, support and connection with friends and family was imperative. You said it again and
absolutely.
again. So
Yeah.
I feel like there's threads that are just kind of going through a lot of the same kind of there's similar stories, not the same, but there's similar stories and similar desires and similar uh, recognizing what really is necessary at the end of life.
Yeah. Yeah. I think some of the beauty or some of the reason that I'm still very excited about our next season, where we already have a dozen or so people recorded. So we know for
Mm-hmm.
sure there's going to be a really good season, is that there's uh, there's everybody brings their unique perspective. Just as we said, every end of life, every loss, every grief is unique. All of the perspectives we got were unique, and we learned so much from every single person, the way they were working or the way they were
Mm-hmm.
involved or the way they approached these things. So just such a blessing and such a great resource for us going forward. So I'm really looking forward to what's coming up next.
Yay! I am too.
We will be introducing a new website, and we'll post that as soon as we have it ready. On the website, you'll be able to subscribe for some expanded content. So something like what we're doing right now, some video that Annalouiza and I will be doing. And um, so go ahead. I'll let you talk more
Oh,
about that. Is
okay.
it
So for our paid subscribers, you will have access to these video conversations that we're going to be creating. We will go deeper and explore some of the themes that we have found in our podcast interviews. I hope to, with the help of Wakil and I, we will be planning short classes. Actually, can I start that all over again?
Sure.
I'm trying to scroll and look normal. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, here we go. Take two. Paid subscribers will have access to video conversations just like this one. We will be going deeper and explore themes that have arisen in our podcasts. We will offer short classes on the end of life planning and continue to demonstrate how to hold these conversations with those who are processing their end of life journey. These conversations will benefit those who are actually transitioning and their companions who are supporting those who are dying. We will share with you what you might encounter as a witness to the end of life.
And of course, our audio only podcasts will remain free, and they will have, like I said, many, many excellent and compelling guests. And we want to hear your stories. So if anything we've said today has struck a chord and you thought, oh, I got a story about that, I'd love to share, we would absolutely love to hear from you. You can contact us via email at endoflifeconvo@gmail.com. That's ENDOFLIFECONVO @gmail.com.
And Thank you again so much for helping us. Okay, I messed up because I scrolled down all the way to mine.
All right, little break there, and we'll
Boo!
just say we will be starting again with the free audio episodes on August 7th. So stay tuned.
Yes, and thank you again so very much for listening and help us spread the word about our work that we're doing. And hopefully, you'll come back and enjoy this new season with end of life conversations. Adios.
Adios.